African news update on top accolade news. The headlines. 8 sentenced to death in Tunisia for 2013 assassination of opposition leader. Ivory Coast expels French forces. Kenyan High Court ruling grants citizenship to ethnic Somali nationals. G20 finance meeting faces tension over climate, debt and inequality. In politics, 8 sentenced to death in Tunisia for 2013 assassination of opposition leader. In Tunisia, 8 defendants have been sentenced to death over the 2013 assassination of opposition leader Mohamed Brahmi. The verdict comes after years of investigation into the killings of the nationalist left-wing figure who was shot outside his home in July 2013, sparking widespread protests. The charges include attempting to change the state's nature and inciting armed conflict. 3 of the defendants also received additional death sentences for their role in the murder. Brahmi's assassination marked a turning point in Tunisia's post-revolution politics and heightened tensions between Islamist and secular factions. Still in politics, Ivory Coast expels French forces. Ivory Coast has become the latest country to expel French troops, marking the end of France's military presence in the Sahel, following similar moves by Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. This shift has been largely influenced by Russian disinformation campaigns, which have targeted African public opinion, exploiting anti-colonial sentiment and historical grievances. Analysts suggest that Russia is seeking to replace Western powers like France as a primary partner in the region, using propaganda to destabilize local government. With French forces now withdrawn from Chad, pro-Russian messages continue to dominate social media, framed as a victory against colonialism. As Russia increases its influence in Africa, questions about the future stability of the Sahel region and the growing presence of Russian mercenaries remain a major concern. Moving on in politics, Kenyan High Court ruling grants citizenship to ethnic Somali nationals. The High Court in Garissa, Kenya, ruled in favor of thousands of ethnic Somali Kenyan nationals who had been wrongly registered as refugees, denying them essential rights like national ID cards and access to basic services. The court ordered the government to remove these individuals from the refugee database and issue them national IDs, acknowledging the hardship and discrimination faced by the affected community. Many of the individuals had been denied education, jobs, and healthcare due to their lack of IDs, leaving them stateless for years. The ruling is a significant step towards justice, but experts stress the need for continued effort to ensure these citizens can fully access their rights without further discrimination. Shifting focus to economy, G20 finance meeting faces tensions over climate, debt, and inequality. Finance minister and central bankers from the world's top economies are gathering in South Africa this week for a G20 meeting, but the event is clouded by the absence of key figures, including Japan's finance minister, US Treasury Secretary, and European Union Economic Commissioner. With tensions running high on issues like climate finance, debt relief, and growing inequality, it seems unlikely that the gathering will reach a consensus. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa had hoped to use the platform to press wealthier nations to contribute more to climate change efforts and help poorer countries transition to green energy. However, disputes over these priorities, particularly with the US absent, have left many questioning whether the G20 can effectively address these pressing global issues. You are watching the African News Update on Top Accolade News. Do stay with us. Still to come. Thanks for staying with us. Egypt forged new partnerships in trade and investment. The president of Zambia has returned from a successful state visit to Egypt, where he met with President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi to boost economic cooperation and explore investment opportunities. The two leaders discussed Egypt's advancement in infrastructure, agriculture, and tourism, and signed several agreements to foster joint ventures. He also toured Egypt's historical sites, including the Great Pyramids, and visited the Veterinary Serum and Vaccine Research Institute to discuss improving Zambia's agricultural exports. He expressed optimism about the future of Zambia's economy, emphasizing the potential for collaboration in agriculture, tourism, and infrastructure development. Moving to crime, Sierra Leone's fight against deadly KUSH drug intensifies. Sierra Leone's battle against the deadly drug KUSH has intensified after new findings revealed the dangerous chemical components it contains. A recent report by the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime, requested by the government, found that over half of the KUSH samples tested contains nitizens, a synthetic opioid up to 25 times stronger than fentanyl. The rest were laced with synthetic cannabinoids. Imported from countries like China and the Netherlands, these ingredients are processed in local labs in Freetown before being sold as KUSH, fueling addiction and death across the nation. Despite government efforts, including a national crackdown, the drug's widespread popularity and local corruption continue to challenge authorities in tackling this growing epidemic. In entertainment, Warner Music Africa Francophone hosts inaugural songwriting camp in Ivory Coast. Warner Music Africa Francophone has kicked off its new venture with the launch of its first songwriting camp in Abidjan, Ivory Coast. Over 20 artists, producers, and songwriters from across Africa gathered to collaborate on new music. The event concluded with a successful launch attended by industry leaders and Ivory Coast Minister of Culture, who pledged support for the initiative. As French language music continues to rise in global influence, Warner Music Africa Francophone is poised to connect even more talent across Africa and beyond. Now in sports, investigation launched into death of Nigerian footballer in Uganda. The football community is in shock following the sudden death of Nigerian footballer Abubakar Lawal, who tragically fell from the third floor of a shopping mall in Kampala, Uganda. Lawal, who played for Ugandan Premier League club Vipers SC, was visiting a friend when the incident occurred early Monday morning. Authorities have launched an investigation and are reviewing CCTV footage to determine the cause of the fall. Tributes have poured in from Vipers SC and Kanu Pillars as the football world mourns the untimely loss. That concludes our African news updates for today. Stay tuned for more African news and developments. Thanks for joining us. I am Ojo-Rumi Okocha. Connect and engage with us on all our social media handles. Do have a wonderful day.